Hi all. A friend of mine asked me today how it is that I cultivate acceptance for people, places, and things. And I had to come home and sit down and journal about it before I go to answer her, because it really made me think about where did it actually start. She asked me if it was an innate quality that I just sort of was born with, or if it came about through recovery. And so I started thinking about before I stopped drinking. And I haven't always been accepting of all things. Although, when I think about it, I have always been somewhat open-minded about personalities and maybe alternative lifestyles and things like that. But I don't think it was until I started exploring parts of myself that had been left unexplored and sort of just kind of suppressed. And this is the process that led me to what I call radical self-acceptance. And in that process, I had to start integrating regular, intentional, daily practice to show up in those truths of all those things that were hidden or undiscovered or unexplored. And a lot of it is stuff I'm not going to get into here, because it does dabble in sexuality and sort of the stuff we don't broadcast walking down the street. So, I started being honest with the people in my life and with myself about what brought me joy and what didn't bring me joy, and I wasn't gonna do things that didn't make me happy anymore just because it's what I thought I should do, or be, or act, or speak. And before I could really do that, I had to dive into a lot of shame about who I am, what I believe in, what I take pleasure in, what I don't enjoy. And I had guilt, and I had to rebuild and rewrite who I thought I was. And I really had to start living in the practice and desires that bring me joy daily with intention. And somehow out of this was that radical self-acceptance beginning to develop. And I noticed that once I had more acceptance and love and compassion and patience with myself, it just started becoming how I moved through the world. that love, compassion, tolerance, patience, and acceptance of myself somehow just became how I view everything around me. Everything I can see, and also the things I can't see, the unseen. Right? So it would seem that focusing on loving myself and my evolving station in life at any time and in any experience has been the key to acceptance of everything that this life is. Did this come with recovery? Maybe not initially, and definitely not necessarily, because this process began before I stopped drinking. It began before I wanted to stop drinking. So I guess you could say that my recovery from a powerless way of living began before the drinking stopped. And it may have gained much more momentum once I did stop drinking. Once I did discover a sober mindset, I began to see people accept me as I was and as I am, and I still see that in my recovery. And I see people even celebrate me in recovery, and I wasn't accustomed to that. And that in itself had a profound effect on me, because I began to believe in myself regardless of my state of being. And the result of that is also accepting others and the circumstances all around me in the same way. Of course, I daily and throughout the day have a practice of communion with what I think is God, or my highest self, my soul being. And that communion every day, I ask to be open and open to receiving, which has a lot to do with accepting. Open to receiving everything that comes into my life, not just to learn from it, but to engage with it. And I ask for the strength, the willingness, and the courage to be able to do that, and to accept however that presents itself. Sometimes it's ugly, sometimes it's beautiful. However it presents itself, I have to constantly remind myself that I believe in this method of living. I believe in asking to be a channel and to have the space to be able to accept and receive. And hold the space in order to cultivate an acceptance practice, much like a gratitude practice, right? I have to practice acceptance consciously. And as much as there might be a natural part of me just being that way, there is intention, and there is conscious awareness, and there is repetition, and it's every day. It's not, I don't get to be choosy about it, right? And I feel when I'm not being that way. I know when I'm not on that path, right? It's a choice, and it's a choice even when it's uncomfortable, because I still believe that it is one of the pieces to gaining power and manageability over this life, over this reality, over this existence. Because otherwise I feel completely lost, completely powerless. Like I have no direction. And on top of that, I have to practice every day being okay with being uncomfortable every day. Because every day gets uncomfortable at some point or another. And sometimes I tell people I'm close to that maybe I'm a good actor. Maybe I'm good at improving life. But eventually all the acting becomes more and more natural, right? And early on in cultivating all this stuff, I heard that I need to act like the version of myself that I see and know in my heart that my soul is, that I am. And I promised myself at one point that I would try every day to be the person that I envision myself to be. And it doesn't always come naturally, even though it might seem that way on the outside. But sometimes I'm screaming to be accepting in my head, in my body. Sometimes I'm in almost a meditative state of prayer and asking for help in situations throughout the day, right? Why have I been put here? What is it I'm supposed to learn? What am I supposed to do here? How am I helping? You know, what is my purpose in this uncomfortable situation? Right? And then believing that however it looks, however my words, actions, and reactions come to be, is what it's supposed to be. And if I don't believe in that, I have no way of accepting life on life's terms. It's all belief and faith. And and I think, you know, I'm a firm believer in that anything worth growing into is going to be a challenge. And when I accept that life is all things, right? All the things. The tears, the laughter, the anxiety, the pain, the peace, the comfort, the joy, it's everything. When I truly believed in that, this task of being open and receiving and accepting becomes manageable, because it's folded into the fabric of what I believe in. And if I don't believe in anything, then I have no map. I have no compass. So, I don't know if that answers the question, right? About how I cultivate acceptance. But it answered it for me. And hopefully this helps someone or people who struggle with life and what it has to offer on the daily. And we don't have to feel stuck. When I do, the only thing I know to do is to commune, to return back to myself. And in myself, I know, is what we call God or the force that drives everything. And that's where I find peace. And if I can't quite get to that place emotionally in my daily interactions, the only place I can go is here inside of me and hold on to my belief that whatever's happening on the outside is happening for me. And I am a conscious creator of all those things. And if I can't accept all those things outside of me, how can I accept me? Because I am all those things. And all those things are me. And I hope that makes some sense. May our hearts be open and our souls free. Bless.